So there's this concept called the Dunn Kruger effect, and what it is that because of a bias, people overestimate their knowledge on or abilities on a specific area, and true humility doesn't really allow you to do that. The opposite is called the opposite one is called the imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like you're always thinking you're an imposter. You're always thinking that you are not good enough. The Dunn Kruger effect is interesting to me because I see it all the time. You see these people, and I watch debates, and you see these people debating, and they say stuff, and they miss kind of like basic common sense when they're saying, and they're using their own ego concepts, meaning that they're saying that, well, because I have this education, or because I have this degree, or because I studied it for this or that, but they miss like really relevant facts because of their own inflated view of self-worth. Now, there are people who are experts in things, but a real expert, I was talking to somebody who was a real expert in it, and it was asked a question, and she looked it up. And so I said, well, why are you looking it up? You are basically an expert in this. And she said, because things change, and because I never assume that I know everything. I look it up every time, and I make sure that it's that what I think is right. So that is the basics of somebody who's humble but talented. And so you don't want to have the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you overinflate who you are, and you don't want to have the imposter effect, because you don't want to underestimate. But double checking your facts is always a really good idea, and it comes from a form of humility that is actually makes you smarter. So when you're watching these debates, don't think because somebody has a PhD in something that they're right, because often they mess up the idea by just not using common sense. Also, they specifically say in these debates, well, we use the scientific method, or the other methods, and you need to watch that, because the Socratic method, for example, basically you can use the Socratic method and still miss common sense. Well, we use the Socratic method on evolution versus creation. Well, yeah, but how about mathematical method? How about just common sense method, where you weigh out all the goods and bads and uglies, and then you put them together and to form a conclusion? That's just basic common sense. And so they do that in physics too. You'll see where they're talking about the string theory. When you analyze it, the string theory, to be right, has to say some things that are way out of probabilities, and so, or reasonable probabilities. And so it's kind of interesting that that you see that in everyday life, in everyday debates, everything understood. For example, they say this bone is this age, and so man's this age, but they do it based on two different things. One's carbon dating farther back doesn't work very reliably, and the other thing, and it has to have tissue, or it has to have biological, right? But the other method is strata, where they find it in the layers, but the Earth is constantly changing, and if you have an asteroid somewhere and the winds blow that way and it has a different layer, then you've changed where you would put that in the history of that item. So you see these things, and man's probably far older than the normal everyday Christian believes, but sometimes I don't think it is like so far back, because they're using strata that may be changed by floods, by winds, by impacts, by a whole list of things, even just normal climate change. And then you find the similar ideas in different strata in different places. So it's like, okay, so I guess they could put it in a database and find out what the average is, but averages always don't work either. So to say in a specific place that a certain thing is a certain age is just a lack of common sense. So of the two ideas, I'm just going to say it again. So the two ideas, the Dunn Kruger effect, where you overestimate your knowledge and abilities, and then the imposter effect, where you underestimate or question your possibilities. The better one is a humble look at science, and there are people who do that. And so some just say, I don't know for sure, but this is what I think, and that's a more honest view of these issues. So just an idea.